Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, text 12. Natre vaham jatu nasam natvam nimi janadipaha nachayvina bhavishyama sarvivayam atakparam. And Krishna says, never was there a time when I did not exist, nor you, not all, nor all these kings, nor in the future shall any of us cease to be. So Krishna is basically clearly establishing the complete eternality of the spirit soul. Before birth in this body, and after death of the body. It's very important to know this. For example, the Christians, they claim that the soul begins at birth in the present body that they have. That's completely wrong. And I think the Muslims say that also. But unequivocally, Prabhupada, the Krishna says, never was there a time when I did not, nor you, nor all these things, nor in the future shall any of us cease to be. So in the purport, Prabhupada says, in the Vedas, in the Katha Upanishad, as well as in the Srutasvatara Upanishad, it is said that the Supreme Personality Godhead is the maintainer of innumerable living entities in terms of their different situations according to individual work and reaction of work. That Supreme Personality Godhead is also, by his plenary portion, alive in the heart of every living entity. Only saintly persons who can see within and without the same Supreme Lord can actually attain to perfect and eternal peace. And then Prabhupada quotes this verse, Nityo Nityanam Chaitanas Chaitananam Eko Bahanam Yo Vidadati Kaman Tam Atmastam Ye Nupasyanti Dhiras Te Sam Santi Sastrati Nitarasham Katha Upanishad 2.2.13. So in other words, saying only saintly persons who can see within and without the same Supreme Lord can actually attain to perfect and eternal peace. And then Prabhupada continues, the same Vedic truth given to Arjuna is given to all persons in the world who pose themselves as very learned, but factually have but poor fund of knowledge. The Lord clearly said that he himself, Arjuna, and all the kings who are assembled on the battlefield are eternally individual beings, and that the Lord is eternally the maintainer of the individual living entities, both in their conditioned and in their liberated situation. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is the supreme individual person, and Arjuna, the Lord's eternal associate, and all the kings assembled there are individual eternal persons. It is not that they did not exist as individuals. So there's a double negative there. So it means they existed as individuals in the past, and it is not that they will not remain eternal persons. Again, double negative means that they will remain as eternal persons in the past, in the present, and in the future. Therefore, there's no cause for lamentation for anyone. The individuality existed in the past, and their individuality will continue in the future without interruption. Therefore, there's no cause for lamentation for anyone. The Mayavadi theory that after liberation, the individual soul, separated by the covering of Maya or illusion, will merge into the impersonal Brahman and lose its individual existence, is not supported herein by Lord Krishna. This is a very important statement. But Prabhupada is revealing how far off the path of truth the Mayavadis are. And he's revealing all their, what you would call deviations from Shastric evidences and the words of Krishna. So what do the Mayavadis say? They say that after liberation, the individual soul, separated by the covering of Maya or illusion, will merge into the impersonal Brahman and lose its individual existence. And Prabhupada says, this is not approved herein by Lord Krishna, because Lord Krishna is saying in this verse 2:12, never was there a time, Arjuna, when I did not exist, nor you, nor all these kings, nor in the future shall any of us cease to be. So Krishna is absolutely emphasizing the full eternality of the soul in the past, in the present, and in the future. Whereas the Mayavadis are saying something different. The Mayavadis theory that after liberation, the individual soul, separated by the covering of Maya or illusion, will merge into the impersonal Brahman and lose its individual existence. And this is not supported herein by Lord Krishna, the supreme authority, nor is the theory that we only think of individuality in the conditioned state supported herein. Krishna clearly says herein that in the future also the individuality of the Lord and others, as it is confirmed in the Upanishads, will continue eternally. So Krishna, basically in this verse, second chapter, 12th verse, emphatically declares that the soul is fully eternal in the past, in the present, and the future. And therefore, it cannot be killed. It cannot be erased. As opposed to all kinds of speculations of the Mayavadis about the soul. Krishna clearly says herein that in the future also the individuality of the Lord and others, as it is confirmed in the Upanishads, will continue eternally. This statement of Krishna's is authoritative because Krishna cannot be subject to illusion. If individuality were not a fact, then Krishna would not have stressed it so much, even for the future. The Mayavadis may argue that the individuality spoken of by Krishna is not spiritual, but material, even accepting the argument that the individuality is material, then how can one distinguish Krishna's individuality? Krishna affirms he, I'm sorry, one second. He affirms his individuality. One second. Okay. But even accepting this argument that the individuality is material, then how can one distinguish Krishna's individuality? Krishna affirms his individuality in the past and confirms his individuality in the future. He has confirmed his individuality in many ways, and the impersonal Brahman has been declared to be subordinate to him. Krishna has maintained spiritual individuality all along. If he accepted as an ordinary conditioned soul in individual consciousness, if he is accepted as an ordinary conditioned soul in individual consciousness, then his Bhagavad Gita has no value as authoritative scripture. A common man with all the four defects of human frailty is unable to teach that which is worth hearing. Mm-hmm. The Gita is above such literature. No mundane book compares with the Bhagavad Gita. When one accepts Krishna as an ordinary man, the Gita loses its importance. The Mayavadi argues that the plurality mentioned in this verse is conventional, and that it refers to the body. But previous to this verse, such a bodily conception is already condemned. After condemning the bodily conception of the living entities, how was it possible for Krishna to place a conventional proposition on the body again? Therefore, individuality is maintained on spiritual grounds and is thus confirmed by great acharyas like Sri Ramanuja and others. It is clearly mentioned in many places in the Gita that this spiritual individuality is understood by those who are devotees to the Lord. Those who are envious of Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead have no bona fide access to this great literature. The non-devotee's approach to the teachings of the Gita is something like that of a bee licking on a bottle of honey, like licking on the outside of the bottle. He can see the honey, but never gets to taste. Similarly, the mysticism of the Bhagavad Gita can be understood only by devotees, and no one else can taste it, as it is stated in the 4th chapter of the book. Nor can the Gita be touched by persons who envy the very existence of the Lord. Therefore, the Mayavadi explanation of the Gita is a most misleading presentation of the whole truth. Lord Chaitanya has forbidden us to read commentations made by the Mayavadis and warns that one who takes to such an understanding of the Mayavadi philosophy loses all power to understand the real mystery of the Gita. If individuality refers to the empirical universe, then there is no need of teaching by the Lord. The plurality of the individual soul and of the Lord is an eternal fact, and it is confirmed by the Vedas as above mentioned. Amen.
Amen. It's strong.
Prabhupada is not mincing his words here, and nor should he, because why is he being so emphatic? Because the Mayavadis are claiming that there's no reality to the individual soul. It's all Maya. And the ultimate stage is when all these individual so-called souls, which are illusory, they disappear or they merge into the one great soul called Brahman. But actually, they clearly say that all the individual souls are illusory. So when they disappear, then the truth becomes clear. There's only one soul, and that's Brahman. So that is completely wrong. But many people believe it, and therefore they meditate. They meditate on some lights, or they meditate on the tip of their nose, or they meditate on nothing, so that they can deny their individuality and merge into the oneness of the Brahman. So it's like a suicide. It's like what you would say, a gentle, soft suicide. But it's suicide, whether you do it brutally or you do it in a soft, gentle way. It's a type of suicide because you're trying to deny yourself your individuality in order to merge into the oneness or the one soul called Brahman. Now, to prove that these statements that Prabhupada is making, see, why is Prabhupada saying this because you don't need to read Mayavad philosophy. Prabhupada is explaining Mayavad philosophy and showing the holes in it and the things that are misleading in it. So you don't have to read a book of Mayavad philosophy to understand that it's all nonsense. Prabhupada is clearly analyzing it and debunking it and showing why it's false. Unless we hear the explanations that Prabhupada is giving and that Krishna is saying, he's only repeating what Krishna says and giving more contextual, explanation of it. Without reading this, we could easily be misled by the Mayavadis. They have a way of speaking that sounds, so let's say, polished that the person that doesn't know anything, they would begin to believe what they say, because a person that knows nothing is susceptible to believing anything because they don't have, a solid background of Krishna conscious knowledge or knowledge of Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, but what's being said here, it doesn't even make sense what the Mayavadis say. Basically, they believe that all the jivas or individual souls are illusory, and they claim that there's only one soul, and that's called Brahman. And in order to merge into that, you have to, through a process of self-denial and meditation on oneness, it's like a very soft suicide, you know? And they and the proof of that, it's a very interesting proof of that. There was what was his name? He was a bogus sadhu. Oh, geez, I forget. Anyway, this bogus sadhu, one of his disciples comes to the door and he knocks on the door, and the sadhu inside, without opening the door, he says, "Who is it?" And the disciple says, "It's so and so." And the sadhu says, "Well, I don't know you." And then the disciple knocks on the door again, and then the sadhu says, "Who is it?" He says, "It is you, my dear Lord." He says, "Okay, you can come in now." so, so this false concept of oneness is like that. The, to believe that there's only one soul and all the other souls don't really exist, they're all Maya or illusory, is a false narrative. And that's why the Mayavadis, you'll see them always meditating. Why? Because they're trying to deny their own individuality in order to merge into the global uh, uh, soul of the universe. And in that process, they believe that they become God. Yeah, if you merge into body as God, you're like God, right? And then you deny your own soul to do it. So there's only one soul, and now you've become that soul. So it's very, convoluted, basically nonsense philosophy, but a lot of people believe it. They're meditating. At one time, I I was someplace where people were meditating, and there was one person that was meditating but had a cigarette in their hand. The cigarette was lighted, and I came up to him. I said, "Excuse me, can I ask you a question?" And he didn't say anything. And I said, "Excuse me, well, why do you have a cigarette in your hand?" And he opened one eye. He said, "Get away from me." I said, "No, why can't you answer the question?" He said, "You are a Hare Krishna, am I right?" I said, "Yes." He said, "You don't know anything. Just go away." I said, "No, come on, tell me, why do you have a cigarette?" He said, "Now listen, you don't understand philosophy." I said, "Okay, well, why don't you educate me? What is the philosophy?" He said that at that point, he gave me an answer. He said, uh, "I am not this body, so I have no connection to the cigarette." I'm not kidding you. People are crazy. Yeah. Well, that's what Mayavad philosophy is. It doesn't make any sense, and it's crazy. And this is what's going on in the world today. So many yoga groups are there, and they believe this Mayavad philosophy.
Yeah, they say that all these modes and all.
The what?
The modes, the three modes
Yeah.
don't affect you if you know that they are there.
If you know that they're there,
Yeah.
they don't.
Just the knowledge that the modes are there liberates you from the modes.
Mhm. Well, that's a nice philosophy. It's wrong, but it sounds good. Well, the modes of material nature are always going to be there. You can't deny them.
Mhm.
But you can purify yourself from the modes by Krishna consciousness. Uh, so, oftentimes, the Mayavadis that believe that you have to die to live. So, what does that mean? It means that you have to, just sit down there and meditate and not be involved at all in the material world. They try and deny, uh, you know, everything. And by the way, they're the number one uh, cancel culture people.
Mm.
But ultimately, they want to deny their individual identity. So it's like I said, it's like a slow process of self-denial in order to merge in this so-called Brahman, their concept of Brahman. It's
Do
one
they,
super. Anybody asking a question?
I just want to, do they chant the Krishna mantra?
Sometimes, but mostly they just meditate. I don't know if you've ever gone to a Mayavadi program, but the main thing is meditating. Silent meditations. You'll go into a room, everyone's sitting in a lotus position, and their eyes closed. But actually, you're not supposed to close your eyes when you meditate. They have to be half open, half closed. Real yogis are like that. But if you close your eyes, there's a good chance you can fall asleep, meditating. But anyway, they meditate. Their program, our program is chanting and dancing, Hare Krishna, right? Nice prasada. Their program is meditation. Sometimes they chant bhajans also, but the main thing they do is meditate. Now, what they meditate on, that's a good question. They meditate on the tip of their nose, or they meditate on nothing, or they meditate on, you know, some light. One time, this old gentleman who was very, very rich, he was a Jewish man. He heard about me when I was living in France, and he sent his son in a big limousine for me, uh, and the son came and he said, "My father wants to meet you." I said, "Your father?" I said, "I don't know your father." He said, "No, but he knows you. He wants to meet you." So why don't you come with me and I'll take you to my father. So I thought, okay. So he had a big limousine, right? Obviously, that family was very rich. And he drove me outside of Paris. It was a long drive outside of Paris. We get there and there's a mansion, right? I go in the mansion. They take me to this room. It's a big room, a big table. And, it was obviously where they have banquets, right?
Mm.
And I'm sitting there, and then the son, who's a was a prominent dentist, he says, "Just wait a minute, my father will come." So the father comes, and he starts talking nonsense, all kinds of nonsense, and he's behind me, and he couldn't walk in front of me because I was sitting on a table, right?
Mm.
I mean, on a chair facing
The
the
big
other.
long chair, the big round table.
Yeah, it's a big round table, right? So he was walking behind me, like from my right arm to left arm and back again and back. And so he kept walking back and forth. And he started talking about, I should become his disciple and that he wants to bless me and this thing and that thing. So, I was getting very, very freaked out by this. And then at one point, he's just standing right behind me and he stays quiet. And then he grabs my so-called third eye and squeezes it as hard as he can,
Mm.
And, I just like froze, And then he took his fingers off. He says, "Now you're initiated. Now you're my disciple."
Wow.
I said, "Okay, well, thank you very much. I think I have to go now. But, thank you for initiating me. And then because I was speaking nice, I didn't get angry or anything. So he said, okay. So then his son drove me back to Paris. We're about 20 miles outside of Paris in a big mansion. And of course, I never saw him again, and nor did I, answer any of his phone calls. But just some crazy people. And this guy was very rich.
How old was at that time?
How old was who?
The son, the father and the son, like what were
The
they?
father must have been 70 years old.
Oh.
Yeah. And his son was about in his early 40s. He had a big limousine, right? So, I guess the father was looking for victims, and he found out about me, because I was chanting in the streets all the time. So he wanted to initiate me. This is how crazy people are, unfortunately. It's really sad. Okay, so therefore, I think we're out of time. Are there any questions? Any questions?
Maharaj, one question. So I know that Shankaracharya came for the reinventing, re-establishing the Vedas, because before that there was some problem. But I understand the purpose of Shankaracharya's coming to Vedas, but why the philosophy is deviated?
Well, he was ordered to teach. Okay, first of all, 2,500 years ago, there was, um, you know, Krishna consciousness was there, right? But then Buddha came into the picture. I'm not going to say Krishna consciousness. I'm going to say that in Hinduism,
Because by then the degradation of the
Yeah.
Brahma started.
it had degraded, and people were eating meat. The Brahmanas were not bona fide. See, previously, in the previous age, to prove that the Brahmanas' mantras that they were saying were bona fide, they would put an old cow into the fire. of sacrifice. And then they would yank it out, rejuvenate it into a calf. And that proved that the mantras were correct. And when Kali Yuga began, the principle was that all these animal sacrifices, even human sacrifices, had to stop. They were also human sacrifices, but they were able to rejuvenate the human being also, right? So, but they didn't stop. The Jews didn't stop either. The Jews were supposed to stop, you know, all sacrifices. They didn't stop either, you know. So what happened? They would still, you know, push the cow into the fire, right? And they'd yank it out, you know, barbecue. And they would say, "Oh, well, we can have prasadam now." And they were feeding the people the flesh of the cow. So when let's see, who was it? Anyway, when this happened, to stop that nonsense, Lord Buddha came, and he began to teach his principles of nonviolence. You know, ahimsa, yeah, ahimsa is the great principle. So, so then, you know, everyone became, not everyone, but most people became Buddhists. That went on for about 1,000 years.
Yeah, King Ashoka became.
Yeah, Ashoka, who took up Buddhism. Yeah. And it was prophesied that it would only last for 1,000 years, right? So, but after 1,000 years, it continued anyway. But anyway, the idea of ahimsa was a good idea, right? Much better than, you know, killing animals and so forth. But today it's unbelievable. Buddhists eat meat. There are some that don't, but there are a lot of them that eat meat. And how can you do that? Because, you know, their whole philosophy is, you know, ahimsa, you know, nonviolence. So it's very strange, very, very strange. Okay, so the so Sankaracharya, when he came, in order to convince people to stop eating meat and killing animals, he taught a type of philosophy that was impersonal, to wean them off of Buddhism, right? So it was, let's say, another type of Buddhism. That's what he was teaching.
Yeah, because Buddhism, they said, like, you get all your desires, kill all your desires, you become nothing.
Yeah.
And what Shankaracharya said is, why become nothing? Because according to our Vedas, you become Brahman. You become everything.
You're everything, yeah.
It's the same act,
You
but you
become
become
God.
you become God. Exactly. So that obviously resonated, so that he could bring them back onto the Vedic
Right.
platform.
Exactly. But it was a type of you would say
Ploy.
offsuit of Buddhism, yeah. Or covered Buddhism.
Mhm.
Okay, so the all these things were supposed to stop. They were not supposed to, they're not eternal, right? But they didn't stop. You still have Buddhists today, right? And whereas it was only supposed to be valid for about 1,000 years, but then it's going on till today. And because of that, there's a lot of deviations also. Like I said, there are Buddhists that eat meat and so forth. So anyway, Lord Chaitanya comes and makes it very, very simple to go back to Godhead. You just chant Hare Krishna, you eat prasadam, and hear Bhagavad Gita, and engage in Harinam Sankirtan, and you can go back to Godhead. You don't have to do all these other things that they were supposed to be done in order to go back to Godhead. And because it sounds so simple, sometimes people don't believe it. It seems too easy, and they want to do the more complicated things. Or you're doing meditation, you're denying yourself so many things, and so forth. So it's very difficult to teach Krishna consciousness in Kali Yuga because most people are ignorant and been misled so much by modern education that they're not able to hear properly. But Maya is on our side because Maya is giving so much trouble to the people. And therefore, at a certain point, when people are so, let's say, exhausted by being beat up and suffering from Maya, they might become interested to hear a solution to their suffering. That's where Krishna consciousness comes in. That's where Christianity comes in too. They'll go. People will start going to, a church or Christianity or to Islam or Judaism or something to find some way to, stop this suffering that they're having. But if they come to Krishna consciousness, that means that they have done some type of service, even knowingly or unknowingly, either in this life or a previous life, and that's why they come to Krishna consciousness, or they're attracted to Krishna consciousness. So but it's rare because most people are, bewildered, and they don't know, what's the truth and what's not the truth. So if you go to, let's say, Sadhguru, he doesn't read shastras, but I guess he talks something, and he has a big beard and a turban, so he looks like he's supposed to look something like a sadhu should look. So, and he speaks, uh, uh, basically, nonsense things, but it's entertaining for the people.
Yes.
So therefore, they accept him as some kind of a saint or God. Sometimes they consider he's God. All right. So anyway, today's verse is very interesting because it says clearly. I don't think I finished the whole month or the report. No.
Yeah, we just read through the end.
Did I read all the way to the end?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me just read the last paragraph again. One should therefore understand that Buddhi Yoga, what is that?
No.
The second chapter?
Second, 2:12.
12, yeah. Okay. So again, something I want to be with my place, Haribol. Okay. Okay. Yeah, so the Mayavadi theory that after liberation, the individual soul, separated by the covering of Maya or illusion, will merge into the impersonal Brahman and lose its individual existence, is not supported herein by Lord Krishna, the Lord Krishna, who is the supreme authority. So that's basically the main thing. And there was one Mayavadi guy, he'd always say, urging and merging,
Ajit?
Urging,
Oh, okay.
urging and merging. You know, you want sense gratification,
Oh.
but you want eventually to, give it all up and merge. Uh, there's so many funny people in this world, and they don't even realize they're funny, but they sometimes they say things that would come up these phrases like urging and merging, and but actually you can't joke about these things because it's serious. To merge, you have to deny your individuality. In other words, it's like a soft type of suicide. In order to merge into this oneness, where your individuality is completely eradicated, then you can merge into this oneness without a body. And so it's a very dark finality. Let's put it like that. It's a dark finality for the person that does it, because they have to deny their own individuality in order to merge into this oneness, so-called oneness.
They're continuing to Brahmacharya, that means they're no longer having growth and subtle body, right? But do they have?
How do you know that?
I'm asking you, do they
Yeah.
have the gross and subtle body, and do they even?
No, they merge. They merge. They don't have a gross body, but they're subtle bodies. Yeah, it's full of illusory ideas about,
False ego?
Yes, yeah, exactly.
And they don't acknowledge the fact of having a spiritual body.
I'm not sure. They might think it's a spiritual body, but no, anyway, it's not their body now.
Okay.
They merged into this universal thing, this universal oneness.
They only talk about consciousness.
Yeah, yeah, but to that consciousness is the false ego that's a part of the subtle body. That the mind, intelligence, and false ego have become completely contaminated with this Mayavad philosophy that they're willing to give up through gross body to go into the oneness of Brahman. So, but they fall down. They can't maintain that situation for long. They will fall down. Why? Because there's no happiness there. It's boring. How long can you meditate on nirakar, nirakar, nirakar? Everything is nothing, right? You can't do that for a long time. Maybe 1 year, or maybe 1 month, or maybe a couple of weeks, and that's it. Then you go back to trying to gratify your senses. It's like cold turkey, as they say, like cold turkey, where you're denying yourself all your sensual possibilities. And so in Krishna consciousness, we don't deny our sensual, our senses, but we don't get engaged in sense gratification. We use our senses to gratify Krishna's senses. And then Krishna is so kind, he gives us back prasadam. So therefore our senses are gratified, but in a spiritual way, without lust, anger, greed, all that stuff. But if you become a Mayavadi, you deny your senses, you deny your individuality, or you try to, and you want to merge into this impersonal oneness. It's something like metta.
Metaverse.
Yeah, the metaverse of Mr. Whatever his name is.
Mark Zuckerberg.
Huh?
Mark.
Zuckerberg.
Yeah, Mr. Zuckerberg. Yeah. I don't know. You ever see his? You ever put that thing on your eyes and see? And then you see some man walking, and then he stops, and then somebody else appears, and I don't know. I never did it myself. I saw something on the internet about it. It's you know, it's a well, it's pretty boring.
It is.
It's very jarring.
Yeah,
Nice.
and also,
Like,
yeah, it will disorients you because
Disorients, yeah.
yeah, because it's too
I
much
don't
of
hear about
visual.
it anymore though.
No, it was
It flopped, right?
it flopped.
Yeah.
He tried pushing so much,
Yeah.
even though it didn't have any traction.
in
Yeah.
the garage.
Yeah.
You dumped it or not it?
Which one?
Meta.
Thing is now everybody catches caught onto the AI,
Yeah. Yeah.
so the metaverse is behind now.
It disappeared or it's still there?
Yeah, I mean he changed the company's name to Meta,
Oh, okay.
but then there is no real
Yeah.
traction there.
Spent a lot of money on one.
That's because Krishna took his intelligence away, right? So we make that mistake. Unfortunately, you know, all these smart guys, all these billionaires, but they get put into ignorance and they end up losing all their money and their mind also with the money. Okay, so I think we're finished unless there are questions.
No questions. I watched a lot of people lose their intelligence, and I never knew what was going on, and I was just like, what is going on? Like, why is everybody perishing?
In what way? How are they? How did you see them perishing? What were they doing?
Like so many different people. So like throughout my life, I would see people transcend and they'll like start businesses and they'll be empowered and they'll have like all these great ideas in the community and they'll still be doing so well. The business would be flourishing for years, and then next thing you know, the business would start perishing. They would either like get on drugs, they would lose their business and it's no longer. And it was with so many different people. And I wondered like why it was like that. And then once I became Krishna conscious, I realized that Krishna was taking all of their intelligence away because they didn't live transcendental. They were living in the mode of ignorance and they perished.
Okay.
And a lot of the people are gone. So it was something I always wondered about. Like I wonder like why. Like I saw it throughout my life. Like as I was a child, I would see a lot of people there were so many businesses like here in Tacoma, like cell phone businesses, like stuff inside the mall, people that I knew, and their business would be doing well for like maybe 10 years or so, and then like they're all gone now. Some of these people are dead and gone, and they left early.
Well, they must have had some bad habits.
Yeah, they did.
As this one man was he was a ticket salesman for going to, you know, airline ticket salesman. You know, what was his name? Anyway, one day my brother and I went to see him. I wanted to buy a ticket, you know, and he didn't look well, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he said, "What's the matter?" I said, "I don't know." I said, "I think I ate some bad meat yesterday." No, bad pork, he said.
Oh.
No, yeah, that's what's happening to people. They're eating too much bad pork,
Yeah.
ruining their life. Yeah. Well, you saw it with your own eyes.
Yeah, and I went to Lincoln High School and I graduated in 2002. And a lot of people that I see that I went to high school with, a lot of them
Yes.
have perished.
Wow.
Really? Died.
Yeah. like are on drugs, like on on the streets, like not doing well. Some of them are dead. I'm you know where Lincoln High School is in Tacoma?
No, that's all
It's in,
right. I understand. Yeah.
so I went to that high school, and a lot of people that went to that high school uh perished and died. Yeah.
Well, they didn't get a chance. They didn't get a chance to graduate.
Some of them
Uh,
graduated, a lot of them didn't graduate. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So I saw a lot of things.
Well, you saw and they taught you a lesson of what
Yes.
not to do.
Yes, I learned a lesson.
Yeah, there's two ways of being educated. One way is a person does the right thing, that teaches you to do the right thing, and a person does the wrong thing, that teaches you not to do the wrong thing. So they're also a guru. The ones that have all those bad habits, you learn, wait a minute, I'm not gonna become like that. Although they start out, they're healthy, they're young, they're healthy, and then all of a sudden they start all their bad habits, and then eventually, they die from overdosing or something when they're like, 16 or 14 or 18, and it teaches you a lesson. So you learn from them also. You learn what not to do from those people.
Yeah.
Uh, I had a very good friend of mine, very, very good friend of mine. And he finally, he was a Jewish guy, but he became addicted to drugs, you know. And I was taking some with him sometimes, but I was still trying to, uh, pass my test and get out of college. And I remember the last time I saw him, he came to see me, and he was sitting next to me, and I was studying for a test, and he took out his syringe, and while I was trying to study, he started shooting himself up with heroin, and I mean I couldn't stop looking at it also, and I said to him, why are you doing this? And he said, no, I have to do it. If I don't do it, I don't feel well. And I really felt sorry for him. I mean, I had done a little bit of that, but then I realized it was a dead end, so I stopped. But he didn't stop; he just kept going. And I don't know what happened to him. After that, I didn't see him after that. He was Jewish, and he was a very, very intelligent guy. But he got hooked on heroin. And now I'm sitting there trying to study for a test, and he's sitting next to me, shooting himself up on heroin. Then he's asked me, you want some also? I said, no, excuse me, I have to try to pass this test. Yeah,
Yeah, they do that in front of you to normalize it,
I
to
think so.
to
Yeah.
kind of condition you and make you think that it's okay to do it. I never done any drugs before, but I've seen a lot of people do it, and I wonder like why do they do it in front of you? And like Krishna gave me those realizations, like they would do that to like normalize it, and they call it onto you, like spiritually.
Well, you've been blessed.
Yeah.
The Lord blessed you so you could be Krishna conscious.
Yes.
And what happened to all those people?
Well, I have a lot of stories I'll tell you about Krishna conscious. Now, a lot of them have so many stories. Some of them are dead. Some of them are in prison. Some of them are uh, on drugs. Like
Still,
there's a big fentanyl problem. Yeah, and a lot of them are on fentanyl. Like standing up, doing drugs. Like, yeah. But Krishna got me away from everybody. But he wanted me to see and learn, so I learned a lot from seeing a lot of things, and he removed me from all those people and like moved me out of Tacoma. Like I'm a little bit farther out, not too far, but Lakewood. And I have a storefront, so I'm just like with myself, and I work at the store every day, and I'm away from everybody. But it
is it your
was,
own store?
yeah, It's a small beauty supply store that I have.
Oh, very good.
And I
Very
have
good.
that was another thing that reason why Krishna removed me from everybody that I was around, because they were trying to kill me.
Well,
Because
misery likes company.
they
Misery
wanted
likes company.
they wanted to take the business, and it's not really like a big business, but to the demons, I guess, to them at their level of consciousness, it looked like a lot to them.
Any way to make some money for their habit,
Yeah.
even if they want to destroy your business.
Krishna made sure that he got me away from them. He came and saved me. So
Well,
yeah.
thank the Lord. Thank Krishna very much. I'm glad you were able to get away from that bad association.
Yeah, and all the generations, 5 generations of my family we had alive at one time, and like it's a big problem in the family too. So yeah, I didn't
Well,
get away from all that too.
You don't want to become an addict of
No.
some kind of drug. That's like the biggest mistake you could make. So that's good. The real wealth is health.
Yes.
I always tell people the real wealth is health. You can have all the money in the world, but if you're not healthy, that's not going to help you. But if you're healthy, then even if you don't have money, still you have a happy life. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
And your one last thing, your products too. Like, I kind of felt like, well, you said don't use that word, felt. When I was going through the whole process, one of them purchased your product from Marlene's Market, your toothpaste.
Right.
For me.
Nice.
And I had your toothpaste, and I was using your toothpaste, and I was thinking, like, once I came to the temple, I saw it at the temple, and I was like, well, that could have been like how Krishna connected me to the temple. Yeah. Your transcendental products.
It's a dental product, but transcendental.
Yeah, you offer them to Krishna. You know, he's in every atom. So by me using your product, they're Christianized.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I knew Marlene very well. I started my whole business. Marlene was my first customer. She was a really nice person, but unfortunately, she's died. She died about, I don't know, 8, 9 years ago. But I knew her very well, and she helped me. By buying my products, and they're still buying them today. So, yeah, it's amazing, and she was into health. I mean, she has a fantastic, Marlene's is a fantastic health food store, but unfortunately, she died. So I don't know why she died so young. She was, she was like in the late 40s. Yeah, she died pretty young. But she was a very nice lady. She always supported my products. So I'm glad to hear that you got my products from Marlene's.
Yeah.
Haribo.
Hare
It's a
Krishna.
small world.
Haribo.
Yeah. So I told you also one time I was on this flight going somewhere, and I took out one of my bottles of my bottles of lavender, and put it on my face and so forth, and put it back in my pocket, and then the one of the what do you call it? The stewardesses walked past and stopped and said, "Oh, it smells really good here," And I said, "It's me." And I said, "Oh, really?" Yeah, I said, and I took the bottle out. I said, "It's this." Oh my God! And she took the bottle out. She had the same bottle of lavender as I did. And then I told her I'm Uncle Harry. She said, "What? You're Uncle Harry?" You know. She went and
became a
called all the
celebrity.
other stewardesses. They all came up and they were talking to me and they were so happy to meet me and everything. A lot of stewardesses use my products, you know.
Wow.
You know, amazing. It's a small world. Okay, well, we're ready to get ready for taking rest and waking up early. Hare Krishna. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Ki jai.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you.